Good morning, universe. It's a beautiful day to be alive. You could have been born at any point in history, but you're here today, and there has never been a better day to be alive.
Yeah, it gives you that audio spike, then you can sync it all up.
And I'll send that to you as well.
Nice. And you're going to have to remind me what all we're talking about. So
Well, listen. First of all, you have free reign to give me a rest of shit over me and I hitting the record button. So I'm going to bring that up right away because that's how. Listen, everybody who's listening to this show should be doing a podcast, and they should understand this is the stuff that happens. You try to. I don't care what you try to do. You want to become a writer, you're going to make mistakes. We are recording, by the way.
So the question then becomes, did you push the record button?
I did push the record button. Oh my goodness. Literally, I'm not even kidding about this, and this has happened to me a couple times in my life. I literally wanted to cry. I almost did. I mean, it's, you know how it is. You're a martial artist. As a coach, my wife, after I get done coaching a basketball game or whatever, I would be spent. Physically, emotionally, mentally, name it, spent, right? Because you're putting your heart and soul into it. When I'm done with one of these shows, I feel the same way. Like you and I had amazing repertoire. I mean, it was so fun.
Secret of life stuff. Sorry you missed it.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, podcast world. We do have it, and I am going to release it on YouTube only, just for fun, so that Rusty could see I actually did record it. But the cameras are like so echoey. I mean, I literally could have released it as a podcast. I mean, because I've heard podcasts before that aren't that great audio-wise.
Could you not take the echo out?
I couldn't. Or? It was so hard to sync up the two cameras. Like, there would have been plenty of ways to do it, but I was so unhappy with the quality. Like, I didn't want to. I felt like it would be doing a disservice to you, and I wasn't going to do it. So this will be our preliminary. I'll run this before the podcast starts. This little conversation here.
At the break, we'll check the data.
Yeah, exactly right. All right. So just as a reminder, we're going to tell two stories. The two stories are where you're from and all that kind of stuff briefly, and then how you got into the business you're in. And we're going to go down the same route again. This time, though, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. I think that's a good idea. The guy I had on yesterday, his name was hard for me to pronounce. So I thought, oh, wait a minute. This is exactly what I'll do. I'll have you introduce yourself to the audience. My name is whatever, and I'm with Guideport Solutions, whatever. So I'm going to let you do that. Well, just follow my lead. I'll take you.
Rusty Allison's not that hard to pronounce. The trick is getting the West Virginia accent.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the challenge.
So how would that go? Rusty, by God, Allison.
See, you're a natural.
You actually sound like a race car driver if you think about it.
Well, if you saw me drive, you'd think I was one.
I think it's isn't that a prerequisite to live in West Virginia? You got to be a NASCAR driver.
No, you got to take your shoes off.
There you go. All right, let's get started. Welcome back to the show, everyone. For take two. Rusty, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience? And then I'll tell them what this is all about.
I'm Rusty Allison. I'm with Guideport Solutions. I'm a former Google City ambassador and now run an agency.
So Rusty and I did this already. We did this whole show. Rusty did the very first ever show under the new format. And just a couple of guys talking, having fun. It was a blast. I found out he's from the 80s like I am. I found out I'm probably more of a hillbilly than he is, but he's from West Virginia. So we got to know each other really, really well. But I forgot to do what's the one important thing you think a podcaster would do, Rusty? What's the one rule?
Push the record button.
So I got a bunch of podcasting buddies who have done the same thing, and I've seen them write about it in their blog posts and so forth, and then but it's never happened to me. I'm like really, really detailed, right? Especially when it comes to this. But it happens. I mean, this is the stuff that happens when you you step outside your normal thing. I make mistakes every day in my real estate practice, but when you're doing a podcast, it's not your thing. It's not the thing you do every day. So certainly you're going to make mistakes there too, right? So anyway, I call Rusty up and I'm like, Rusty, no, I think I texted you. I think I just texted you 3 words. Like, what was it? It was
something like, I feel like I'm going to cry.
Yeah. I think it was like, I'm sick to my stomach.
That's what it was. I'm sick to my stomach.
Because
which, when I received it, I knew exactly
I know
why.
you did.
It was immediate. I was like, I know what happened.
You came right back. You texted me right back, and you're like, you forgot to hit the record button. I was, but that's and literally, I'm not. And this is not a joke at all. I literally almost cried. We went probably an hour and a half, just setting up and talking and just get and then it was such a good show. And I do have audio, but it's from the 2 cameras, and I just don't want to release that on the podcast. You know what I mean? So thank you for coming back for stage 2. Now we know each other so well, it's not going to come off nearly as well.
Right.
Like no surprises today. Now I know you're a West Virginia dude who's a NASCAR driver.
No, my claim to fame in NASCAR is my dad used to work for Richard Petty.
Did he really?
He did.
Yeah.
Now he wasn't like a pit crew guy. He was a wrench turner in the garage.
Oh, okay. Just a regular mechanic.
But one of the most heartbreaking things that ever happened was he gave me a cap that was actually worn by Richard Petty. I mean, had the man's DNA in there, man, his sweat and everything in there. And I lost it.
Did you? I was going to ask, do you still have it? Oh, man.
No, it's gone, man.
So I used to watch NASCAR, but maybe that's another story for another day. But Rusty, Allison. Isn't he a race car driver? No, who am I thinking of?
You got the Allison family, like Davey Allison, and then you got Rusty Wallace.
That's who I'm thinking of, Rusty Wallace.
So you just smash them together.
Yeah, but Rusty Allison sounds like a NASCAR driver,
well,
dude.
if you saw me drive, you'd probably think I was one.
Okay, all right.
My wife was constantly, hey, you're a little heavy on the gas.
That's from all those alcohol runs you used to make.
No.
Outrunning
I don't even drink.
Back during Prohibition days.
That's what it was. Going across state lines, I was the original Smokey and a Bandit.
Exactly. All right. So just to refresh the memory of our audience, our show is a business show. Entrepreneurs. So the new format is, hey, we're just 2 guys talking, like, or a guy and a gal, or 2 gals talking, depending on who's going to host the show. But so we want to hear your business story. We also want to hear, like, coming from West Virginia, give the audience just a little brief background. Where are you from and all that good stuff.
Sure, absolutely. And first of all, brought to you by Bastion Realtors.
Well done.
Got to get the plug in there.
Got to get the plug in. That's right.
Plug in. So originally from West Virginia, actually originally from Texas. Moved to North Carolina, where my little sister was born, then to West Virginia. West Virginia is like Texas Part 2. It's one of the few states you can walk around in public with a cowboy hat. No one looks at you any differently, right?
Yep.
But grew up there, that was where I went to grade school, high school, college. Moved out to Ohio back in the early 90s, started in the paper industry. I had a printing...
It's Champion, is that?
Champion Paper. Yep.
Interesting.
Out of Hamilton.
I've got a bad memory.
Yeah, no, you got a good memory.
So is that what brought you here to this town?
Yeah. So when I graduated with a print/business degree, 4-year degree, and started working for a newspaper in West Virginia. Got hired by a paper company, Champion Paper, to sell newsprint to newspapers. So then I covered all the Midwest, driving around selling uncoated groundwoods to newspapers.
Interesting.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, that's how you landed in Ohio then.
That's how I landed in Ohio. And yesterday, some of this kind of came full circle because I got to today. This week has been a fantastic week. It's been very busy.
Good.
Yesterday, I got to speak in front of the National Newspaper Publishers Association. Their national convention was here in Cincinnati yesterday, and it's a collection of newspapers across the United States that are all owned or led by African American. So,
Interesting.
yeah, absolutely. So it was a fantastic crowd. It was so much fun. And, they had the whole cameras on here, and, looking at me. And so I'm sitting there like trying to play for the camera. And the guy goes, "We're not live." Okay.
Every time I hear that, it reminds me of one of my favorite movies is Grease. Do you like Grease at all?
Grease. Yeah. I just watched Grease like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, when they're at the high school dance and everybody's mugging for the camera, you know what I mean? Is that what it was like?
Oh yeah. You ever see the guy that he's just like flicking his tongue back and forth?
Yeah.
I'm like, what's wrong with that guy?
Oh, that's funny. So yeah, I love that you get the chance to speak. And that's how we met the first time. You did a Google presentation for Loveland Chamber of Commerce. Did an amazing job. Told great West Virginia stories, and you've got a great voice and a great demeanor. Not only that, it was one of the most practical seminars I've ever been to. And you delivered it with fun and you know your stuff.
Well,
so I think that's the perfect thing for you, speaking in front of people. Like that's the opposite of what I like to do because I'm not as good at that.
Well, no, I don't know about that. Because, going back 5 years ago, I used to work, once I finished out my my paper tenure, I started leaning more into technology. So that landed me at working for Verizon Wireless. And then ultimately into pay. So I've sold a lot of stuff in different and
a sales position there too, right?
Yes, sales position. And then with Paychecks, which did HR solutions and 401k platforms, stuff like that. So I've got a big background in sales. And if you would have told me 5 years ago, hey, you know what, the thing you're going to like the most in 5 years is speaking in front of people. That's going to be your favorite thing in the world, right? I would have looked at you like you had 3 eyeballs and might have throat punched you. I'm like, you're crazy. There's no way.
Yeah.
And because all I had ever known, and I think this is probably very true for a lot of people, all I had ever known was standing in front of a board or either my peers or my superiors giving an account of my quota, why or why not did I hit that, and what am I going to change moving forward, and in exact detail my plan and strategy. And you're just sweating bullets the whole time up here. Even if you did a good job, in sales, it's never good enough. It's sales as a career is a what have you done for me lately career, right? So, hey, yes, I blew out my quota by 132%. That is fantastic, Rusty. What you doing next month?
That's it.
Well, 133%? So,
like the life of an NFL coach, really.
Yeah, oh, yeah. So, you fast forward to the first speaking gig I ever had. I stood up in front of I went to a chamber meeting. I had just become a Google City ambassador, right? I stood up in front of a chamber meeting and I said, this is my name, this is what I do, and I sat down. So I get a call from a lady who says, hey, would you come out and speak to my organization? And without thinking anything, well, sure, I'll be glad to. I was brand new into it, never dawned on me that I couldn't do this. Well, sure. So I hang up the phone and I'm like, oh my God, what did I just do? So I spent the entire weekend, studying on my material and all this stuff, and I became very good at what I was, I don't want to say good, but very knowledgeable of my content. And I stood up in front of this organization. It was it was Main Street Lebanon, is what it is. So it's kind of like there are lots of Main Street organizations. There's Main Street Lebanon, Main Street Hamilton, Main Street Medina, all these different Main Streets. So I stood up, and about 2 or 3 minutes in, all that tension just kind of went away. And I started to play with the audience a little bit and get a little bit more audience participation, which, as I found out, when they're not trying to roast you because you didn't hit your quota, is a lot more fun. Yeah. And over time, I decided, my presentation style was a lot more playful and a lot more engaging versus just standing up there giving a bunch of stats. Yeah. And so that's
there's
my
nothing
mission.
There's nothing worse than for you to go to a presentation and somebody runs through a bunch of slides, like a PowerPoint, It's the worst. And back in this is about 1994, so I had to. I was a new manager. I was a manager for 10 years at the time. What I was new in this position that I had, and we had to do what you're talking about, present our upcoming business plans for the upcoming year to the whole group. I was the least qualified person. I'm always, just know this about me, I'm always the least qualified person in the room. So just remember that. So I was
not in this room. You're not.
I clearly. So I clearly knew that, right? Because I'd just been promoted. I didn't really know my stuff. Like I don't know. It was one of the worst moments in my life. I had to get in front of a group, and I could You ever see the Charlie Brown cartoons where the teacher's talking and it's wah, wah, wah? That's all I heard as I'm getting ready for my turn up top. All these guys are speaking, but I didn't hear a single word because I'm freaking out. Yeah. And so I get in front of the group and just totally break down. And it was a train wreck. You know?
Oh yeah, I know.
So I think that memory just stuck with me, and I'm like, man, this is not what I like to do. And one-on-one, no problem, right? But I think fast forward to a couple years ago, my niece asked me to officiate her wedding. And my immediate thing is, hell no, I am not getting. Dude. I cry every time there is a Star Spangled Banner. You know, is that what it is at the ball game? What do they call it at the ball game? National anthem. I cry at every national anthem. Cry like a baby. So I'm like, A, I'm emotional. B, I don't like being in front of a group like that. C, these are all the people I know and love, right? They're gonna, like you said, crucify me. So it turned out I wrote a long piece on it. Check it out on LinkedIn.com, by the way. Check out my blog. But one of the best things ever. I mean, it was I did cry like a baby, like I knew I would. But it was but I held it together because it was all about her, not about me. Yeah. But not my thing at all. So, which is why I have so much respect for you. So tell me, all right, Verizon's not going to work out. I'm going to go into this new thing. Tell me what Guideport Solutions, what does it mean? What do you do? How did you get here?
Okay. So, all right. So I was with Verizon Wireless. I was with them for almost 6 years, and which was my second stint in the mobility industry. I just kind of burned out in that industry for a little bit, and it showed. I got someone reached out to me with a company called Paychex, which does HR solutions and things like that, and they were hiring a salesperson to in their 401k division. If I was any good at math, I would, or finance. It's the reason why my wife handles the finances in my family. If I was any good at that, my career would literally be as a financial planner, because I absolutely believe in the health of a good financial plan and a good financial base for retirement, for legacy, for everything. Even if you're going to use it for tax sheltering, whatever you're going to do, there are an infinite number of good reasons to do this. I was just not very good at selling that product.
Got it.
So I got fired. So I switched from Verizon to Paychex, and I absolutely love the company, but I got fired, and I would have fired me too. I sucked at it. Okay.
I remember you telling me one time you hate selling. You hate sales.
No, I really don't particularly care. Actually, no, the selling is not what I hate. I actually don't mind the selling. I like the discovery. I'm a curious person, so I like the discovery process and the presentation process, and even the close. Although I can't stand to be told no, so but it's the cold calling, prospect calls.
Oh yeah.
I think 100%. I would rather sit in a dental chair with no Novocaine than make a prospect call, because 100%. If you make 100 phone calls and you book 10 appointments, that to me I know this is for all you salespeople, it's demented in here, okay? But to me, I'm like, I just wasted 90 people's time and my time 90 times, So it's just, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm not a believer.
Well.
My whole book is written against cold calling. If you look at that book right there, that's the only. If you look at the bottom line, do you see that he's going to do product placement again?
Salesperson to superhero.
Thank you. But look at the bottom line. See the subtitle?
By Ron Adams.
That's the author.
Oh, unleash the superpower of relationships.
Yeah. So like that's the thing. Like you could either get on the phone, hire a telemarketers or get on a phone bank and do your requisite number of calls. Mm-hmm. Like you said, I hated that. So that's what they teach you in this business. In
Are
real
these
estate.
for sale? Can I buy this?
Oh, no. They're free to guests, by the way. Take one home with you.
No. I'll buy one.
Well, it's free to you.
Oh, too sweet. Thank you.
It is a compilation of stories. Like it literally, there's 11 chapters in there. Each chapter opens up with the origin story of a superhero. Right?
Oh,
so
nice.
chapter 1 is Spider-Man. And I think the chapter 1 is called, actually it's not chapter 1. It's
you
called.
You are appealing to my geek sensibility, by the way. And I love the shirt you have.
I know. Green Lantern. So superheroes, the cool thing about superheroes is that we can always learn a lesson from their story, right? So I open up and I don't call them chapters. I call them, what do I call them? Episodes. So episode 1.
Episode 1.
Do you see it?
Spider-Man makes the choice.
The choice. Exactly. So you know what the choice is? The choice is cold calling or building relationships. It's sales culture versus relationship culture. So that's the choice. So that's how the book is set up. And then as you go through each chapter, you learn why you hear my story about why I stopped cold calling and I stopped doing what I call transactional thought processes and transactional thinking. And I all about building relationships. So it's a cool premise, but
this is amazing. So I think now, for the longest time, we geeks were kind of in the closet, right? Because if you were a geek, if you loved,
basement,
you're right. Yeah. If you loved Star Wars or superheroes or comic books or Dungeons and Dragons, and that got out in the 80s, you got stuffed in a locker. Okay, that was not cool.
That was a true statement.
Oh yeah, that was not cool. Now all of a sudden, geek culture is in the national zeitgeist. All of a sudden, and everyone's like, you got that bully athlete from that stereotypical bully athlete from high school that's going, man, I love Star Wars now. Luke Skywalker's the man. But the reason I love this in your episodes is like Captain Marvel and the power of words. It begs the reader to go, oh my gosh, what can I learn about the power of words in the backdrop and within the context of my favorite superhero?
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to read it.
So it's a storytelling book, and the premise of it is, hey, this is why I think Google is so important, why digital marketing is so important. We all have to become storytellers in our businesses. And so the premise is, if I open up with a good opening origin story, you're sucked into the Spider-Man story already. And then I introduce an idea of what I want the reader to really understand. You're more likely to read it. And good storytelling is what they call open story loops. You want to know what happens next. So the whole book is, I probably have 50 stories in there that lead you to my ultimate conclusion, which is stop cold calling, start being a human being. Yeah. That's really what it's about. So anyway, so
absolutely.
Thanks for saying that, and thanks for the product placement. That was totally unscripted. So we went off on a little tangent there. So all right, so let's talk about you. Guideport Solutions.
Yes.
What's it mean? Or you were just getting,
getting to that. Sorry, I got distracted. No, shiny thing.
Yeah, no problem. That's good product placement on my part.
So
yeah, go ahead.
All right. So I got fired from Paychex. I have these. I find lessons about myself in these odd areas. Okay, so kind of bring you forward a little bit. I've got a good friend of mine, Rob Williams, who owns Williams International, which is a landscape architectural and development company. Fantastic. I mean, this guy is probably one of, if not the best landscape architect in Cincinnati and Southwest Ohio. Absolutely stellar. But he hired, and I've known Rob for 24 years. I mean, our families have grown together. We're best of friends, right? So I'm out of work. I need money. Hey, come on. I'll hire you onto a job site and I'll pay you X amount of dollars an hour, and you can, move rocks and spread mulch and whatever the whole thing. Well, I learned that Rob as a friend is very different than Rob the employer. So Rob the friend will give you, if you need to be corrected or he needs to tell you advice, he will give you the velvet glove treatment. If you're being employed by Rod, sometimes he will give you the hammer. Okay. So
I knew that was coming.
Yeah. So I'm putting in a sidewalk. We're doing this residential project, and I'm putting in this sidewalk, and this sidewalk's probably 15 feet long, right? And it's getting around lunchtime, and I've got maybe, 4 more feet to go. Not very far, maybe another 30 minutes worth of work, if that, because I'm new at this, so I'm not like really fast. So the guys are getting ready to head out, and I'm putting my stuff up, and Rob walks by and goes, "What are you doing?" I'm getting ready to go to lunch. He goes, "You going to just leave that project undone?" Of course not. That would be crazy talk. Why would I do something stupid like that, Rob? I'll just put more bricks in. But I learned that, and he didn't have to tell me this, when I came back from lunch, I was able to start a new project fresh instead of coming back to something that was unfinished and, I forgot I got 4 more feet of bricks I got to lay and the whole thing. And so it taught me this lesson of finishing a project. Don't just stop in the middle of stuff. Put a cap on it. Put a bow on it. Finish it up before you start something else. I mean, we men are not good at multitasking in the first place.
Fact.
Yeah. So finish what you're doing and then move on to it. So,
because the energy it takes to restart, and they've done studies like this. They say you shouldn't check your emails all day, daily, as they come in. You should bank them and check them all at once, because it's hard when you turn your mind off of something. It's hard to get restarted again. There's a lot of waste in between.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
probably more so on a project. And in that business, dude, like that timing is everything. You got to get through this one because you got another one coming behind it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're in a team atmosphere like that, it becomes in stark reality that if you don't get your job done, then the other guys who need to come in behind you and sweep in the finishing sand and then put all that stuff can't do their job until you've done your job. So it
like
really
a compounding effect.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So it really helped me learn a new appreciation for project management, as well as just general teamwork and understanding that the person coming in behind me is depending on me.
Yeah, that's good.
So anyway,
so from Williams,
I told now, as you can tell from this massive physique. I'm built for landscape,
To those in radio land, why don't you paint the picture for them?
Yeah, I am 5'8" with my hair popped up. By the way, I'm having a bad hair day. So, but I'm like 5'8", yeah, right. And I'm 155 pounds soaking wet, right?
Gotcha. All right.
So even though I'm a martial artist, strength is not my strong.
Not your forte.
No, I'm never going to overpower too many people. But yet I'm carrying around these 80-pound bags of concrete and paver stones and rocks and stuff like that. So I told my wife, I'm like, I can't do that forever. I'm not built for it, man.
Not designed for it.
Yeah. So I said, I went on search for a product that I could sell. I was going to get back into selling. Even though I didn't particularly care for selling, I wanted to find a product that there wasn't a whole lot of competition and that had kind of a high wow factor and people would be excited to talk to me about it, right? Like every salesperson's always that would be like a salesperson's dream.
100%.
No competition. Everybody wants to talk to you, right?
100%.
And I found this product or a company out of Louisville who was an agency selling 360 virtual tours on Google. So it's called a Google Virtual Tour. Back then it was called Google Business View, or Google Virtual Tours for Business. It's gone through several iterations. And I thought, man, nobody's doing that. That would be kind of cool to go into a business, take street view technology where you got that 360-degree looking around and be able to go right through the front door of a business and walk around.
Smart. Yep.
And so I talked to this company, and because I saw an advertisement for it, and they were like, "Oh," I drove to Louisville. It was a 1099 thing, so I was going to have to kind of stay in, self-employed. And he said, "Oh yeah, you're our guy, man. We're so happy for your enthusiasm and the whole thing. And here's the sales manager and the whole deal." So I go back to Cincinnati, 2 hours back home. I'm excited. I start talking to businesses, but I don't know what I'm selling, right? Now I'm great at it because I know exactly what it is. I know everything there is to know about it, right? But then I knew nothing. And so I kept trying to get this company to come up and train me and give me, marketing collaterals. I need to do something here. I need support. Never would support me. The one thing they said is, you're going to have very little competition in this, but there's one guy in Cincinnati you need to stay away from. His name's Joe Danzer. I said, okay.
That sounds ominous.
I know, right? Stay away from Joe Danzer. He's a single guy.
He scares me already.
I know, right? He's a single guy. He's not going to be, he doesn't have any support behind him. He does this on his own. He's kind of cavalier. Okay, I'll stay away from Joe. So after long story short, that agency didn't work out because I couldn't get them to support. I called several agencies, not calling Joe. I called several agencies, national agencies that did the same thing. They all say the same stuff. Oh yeah, we're looking for somebody in Cincinnati. Great. When can you come here and train me? Oh, hey, just go onto our website and check out what it is, and we'll send you a letter. So nobody was willing to invest in me, right? So I started to get very disillusioned with this whole process. So I told my wife, I said, you know what? I'm going to find this kid named Joe Danzer, and I'm going to ask him about it and see if he's looking for a salesperson. And if he's not, or if I can't get any engagement here, I'm just going to go back to work and get a job and just do what I can, right? I got to make money for the house.
Yeah, 100%.
And so I called Joe up. Hey, Joe, this is Rusty Allison. This is my experience. This is what I'm trying to do. Would you be interested in looking at a salesperson? Well, I'm glad you called. I'm actually kind of looking for somebody. Okay, well, that's what everybody keeps telling me, He goes, well, I'm heading out to shoot a Hilton hotel in Indianapolis. You want to jump in the car and go with me? It'll be on Friday. This was like Wednesday. Sure, that is great. So now we found this out later because Friday comes, I jump in the car, 2 hours out, 2 hours back, 3 hours on the job. So I've spent a full day with this guy, and we hit it off famously. It was fantastic relationship right from the start, right? Well, come to find out, my wife told me, and his wife told him the same thing. As soon as we said, oh, yeah, this guy's jumping in the car with me, or I'm jumping in the car with this guy, they were like, are you nuts? You don't know who this dude is?
Don't you read the paper?
I know. He could, drug you and throw you in the trunk, and nobody would ever see you again, Or his wife was telling him, this dude could jump in there and steal your car, take all your money, knock you out, and leave you in a ditch. And, of course, we guys, we're like, sure, I'll jump in the car with you. We don't know anything. But so that was it was 3.5 years ago, and Joe and I are still partners now, 3.5 years later. We started off as Google City Ambassadors. He was the senior city ambassador for Google. He put me through the program. I'll just make a long story short. He put me through the program about 3 or 4 months after I started selling the virtual tours because I was out selling the rest of his salespeople combined. So he was like, hey, you might be a good Google City Ambassador. So I went through that program, and in 2017, Google sunset that program. So Joe and I are like, well, we still got mortgages. Now, Joe,
still got to make a living here.
Still got to make a living, And Joe, of course, he's got his virtual tour business, which I was still selling. But he also had, he's a professional photographer, so he's got, plenty of resources. I, on the other hand, I need to bump it up. So I started Guideport Solutions. And we specialize in the 360 virtual reality experience for businesses, Google Business Tours. We also now specialize in Google My Business, which is the program that you came to, the presentation where we help companies optimize that Google business profile to make them look amazing on Google, help them with their search rankings, everything we can to help them with their local search.
Their presence.
Yes, their Google presence, right.
So this feels like a good time to take a break. When we come back, I want to go deeper into Guideport Solutions and what as detailed as we can about what they can do for a small business. But in my mind, I view what you do as the foundational piece to anyone's digital marketing program, right?
Yeah.
So we'll leave it there for a second. Let's take a break. We'll hear from our sponsor. We'll be right back. This is going to be better than the first one.
You think? You think?
I do.
Yeah, we haven't followed as many rabbit trails, so that's good.
Yeah, it'll be easier to edit. But I love the feel of it. You know what I mean? So I will get into a little bit of martial arts with you because I think it's a fascinating subject for most people.
Okay.
We'll go into a little bit of personal development there. You know what
Okay.
I mean? I know because you and I, when you speak the martial arts language, it's the thing I loved about our first interview. It was like, that was a surprise to me. We've talked quite a few times. I never heard that.
Yeah.
But I think it's so applicable in so many ways. The people who are listening have businesses or small businesses or whatever. Like they need to know that it's all one. You're all one. Mm-hmm. Your spiritual life, your physical life, your business life, all these things matter. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? These relationships you have, like everything matters. And so I'll go down that route just a little bit because I believe it.
Have you read? I am right now listening to the book on tape. I'm showing my age. Simon Sinek, Start with Why. Yeah, or Discovering Your Why, or something like that. It's not the Start with Why. It's the Finding Your Why, or something like that. So it's the foundational book that gets you to
to discover it.
To discover it. So, but one of the things he says in there is that when you find your why, it permeates everything you do. It's not something you just turn off when you leave the work or leave the home.
100%. So you need a refresher on water?
I am. I'm going to grab a little bit more water.
I'll bring it to you.
I'm halfway down. Well,
or do you need to go?
I'm going to. No. I'm going to stretch my legs anyway.
Fair enough.
Dude, I love that. I've never looked inside. I saw this book. Yeah, I saw that book the last time, and I was like, man, that looks really cool. But I didn't pick it up.
I should have reminded you when you were here. I'd like to give it away to the guest. In essence, what I'm using that book for is if you're an agent who's considering coming to work here, that's your first step. Because everything I believe in, like it's like most religions are started. You gotta have the guiding set of principles. So that's one of the, not only is my history in there, like who I am, where I came from, all that, but my beliefs, business beliefs. So if you're a cold caller, you gotta read that and you're like, not the company for me. You know what I mean? Well, so it's a filtering device, you know.
I'm gonna write down. Yeah, exactly. If you're that hunter, I want to go out, kill it, bring it, and go back out and hunt more. That's not me.
Because when you come to me and you say to me, Ron, hey, I want to grow my business. How can I grow my business? I'm not going to tell you to go do open houses and cold calls. I'm not going to do that because I don't believe it. So why come here? You know. All right. So the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this thing up by getting us to how the audience can help you. Like what can we do to what action can they take to become a client of yours or help your cause or whatever?
And I'm gonna ask you also because I absolutely love the story of Bastion Realtors and how that name got. So
thank you for doing that.
Definitely going to ask you that.
You're the best salesman I have. I'm the worst salesman in my company. My wife is my best salesperson, actually. You have another question? You want to write it down?
No, I was trying to remember. Hold on, let me see.
Go ahead.
Down something. There was a story that I told last time, but I don't remember. It was one of those where I was like, that seems like something.
You told a martial arts story. I remember that. I'm trying to think of what else. What other?
Oh, I know it was. Yeah, it was the. You can always push yourself a little further. It was the push-ups.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's right.
Remember that?
Yeah, you got to tell that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, just write yourself a couple notes if you want. Make sure and make sure if there's something else you definitely want to get out. Don't forget it. I'm gonna double check the cameras real quick.
Okay. I remember. Sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say you want to check your data, make sure that you're recording.
All three buttons are still good. So maddening.
I get it,
Still
man.
recording here, looking good. Of course, I keep opening it. So there you go. Lean into that mic just a little bit. I'll make sure I got you.
Yeah, I was gonna take it because you put your hand out and you
I
hit
bumped
the
it.
you bumped
I
it,
bumped it.
and I know that the thing's gonna go, and I was gonna go, whoa. I thought no, because if he edits that out or something, if someone's just listening to the audio, not the video, they won't understand what that is. Why did that guy say that?
Yeah, I think I got you.
Okay.
I think I got you.
Let me write this down here real quick. So I remember. I know the other story that I told was about not being white noise.
White noise.
Yeah, I remember I mentioned in Guideport, I started doing websites and all this stuff, and I just kind of blended into the background.
Yeah, exactly.
With everybody
Good.
else.
Being distinct. Yeah, I got
Yeah.
something to say about that too. That's a really important topic for people nowadays.
Yeah, I'm trying to recreate what we did here.
That's okay. Good. Take your time. Left-handed too.
I know. Well, that's all.
What the hell am I going to do with you?
It's sad. It really is. Okay, that'll work. That probably gets us where I need to be. Oh, and you were talking about the martial arts story. Yeah.
That was a pleasant surprise.
What was that?
That you're a martial artist.
Yeah, I don't. It's one of those things where I don't really promote it a whole lot.
Yeah. On a show like this, it's important, I think, because people need to understand that it's all the same. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, obstacles are obstacles. How
Yeah.
you overcome them is the most important component of being a business person.
Agreed.
So, all right. All right. Welcome back to the show. All right. We left off with Guideport Solutions. So, so let's talk about how you came up with the name and what it means and like what's the overall emphasis of the company. What is it you do?
Okay, so the name actually, the name was probably one of the most challenging things that I did was because if you do a domain search on Google or GoDaddy or wherever you go, everything's taken. If it's a single word out there, it's taken.
Yeah.
So I couldn't come up with anything that I knew was going to be that's going to search very well. So I thought, okay, well, I'll smush a couple words together, create my own word, guidance and port and Guideport, and which sounded great at the time. When you're thinking big, you're like, okay, this is going to be this multifaceted agency, and I'm going to employ 100 people, and we're going to do all this stuff. Well, the problem is you don't start that way, and ain't nobody Googling Guideport. No, nobody Googles a made-up word. So my search, it's just for those of you that are listening or watching this, come up with something searchable. So now speaking of names, tell me the story behind Bastion Realtors, because it's such a unique name, going to be searchable because Bastion's an actual real word.
Yeah, really.
Not like Guideport.
I didn't make it up.
But I'm interested in this. But it is still unique. I'm interested in the story behind that. How did that come about?
Yeah. So very simply, right around 2000. Well, I started the company in 2011, and For 9 years, I was a RE/MAX agent, right? One of the, if not the best brand in all of real estate, right? So I understood like the power of brand and all that good stuff. But my when to be a RE/MAX agent, you pay X amount of money per year, right? No matter whether you sell a house or 0 houses, you're paying them X amount of money, right? So 2011 was tough. I had just come out of losing another business. I owned a cabinet business from 2007 to 2010, roughly, into 2011. And I'm like, you know what? I was in money saving mode, and you know what? I'm going to become a broker. At the time, I was an agent, 9 years an agent. So I didn't want it to be Adams Realtors or Adams Realty or any of that. So I just took an inventory of who I am as a person. What do I do? What's my job? And so I started to think about, well, what is it that what should they do? What's their main job? And the main job of a real estate agent, and most people don't know this, is to protect the client, period. Like almost like a Secret Service agent, right? Like that's my job. Make sure they get through this thing unscathed and protected.
That's great you say that, because I would think it's to sell a house. Yeah,
exactly. It's not a sales job. It really isn't. It's not a sales job. So I got to looking through all of the things that my experiences. I had been selling to builders my entire career. So I knew building had to be in there somewhere because I really understood that. The one thing I knew was all the components that a house, is made up of, right? So I knew that. I'd been working with investors for quite some time, and the idea of protecting. So I just kind of threw those words together and started looking into words that would fit. So like process of elimination, there aren't many that fit all those things together. And I came across this word bâtir, which I think means to build in French, or maybe even Italian, is where its origins are. And from that, I found the word bastion, and I'm like, what does that mean? You don't use it that much, but it means a fortress, a place of protection, a safe place. I'm like, to build, that's it. So I knew it. So that's how it came about, and that's why we've got the shield and the castle as part of our logo. But it means something. More product placement. Well done, sir. I have to pay you some sort of commission or something.
I'm getting a free book. What are you talking about, man?
There you go. We're even. So that's what it's all about. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that. Because I think when people understand your mark, and that's why I think the trying to convey what Guideport Solutions means into the marketplace, they need to be able to latch onto it, and so
that's great. It's so good that the light went on for you. Mine wasn't that way. I was like, well, that'll work, But yours, I love that story. Now I've got to tell you, you said you were a RE/MAX guy.
Yeah. 9 years.
I got to tell you the greatest photobomb story of all time.
All right.
Okay, when my wife and I first moved here to Cincinnati in '93 from West Virginia. We were looking for apartments or houses or whatever. So we picked up, back when they printed these things, a rental guide.
Back in the old days.
Back in my day.
They used to print stuff
on
paper.
Give me one of them rental guides. So I pick up this rental guide, and we're leafing through it, looking for apartments or houses, whatever, right? And we come across this full-page ad of a Century 21, and it's got the agent standing there handing the nice little happy couple their keys to the house, and it's got the big Century 21 sign there in the yard, and this beautiful house in the background, beautiful blue sky. I mean, you could tell they spent big money putting this photo op together, right? Upon further inspection, if you look back up in the sky, and just right above the house is the RE/MAX hot air balloon.
That's like
that is the greatest photobomb ever, man.
Wow, that's marketing.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
It's a really recognizable brand. Like
you
see it, you immediately know what's going on, right? So that's the power of branding.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with Guideport, like those two words smushed together create this new word. What's the big idea?
So because of who we serve, so we started off to serve really the small business, the small mom and pop business. Most larger companies, your Fifth Third banks, your GEs, your Procter & Gamble's, the Krogers, they're going to have large marketing departments and agencies that they work with that know all of this stuff. They spend millions of dollars promoting themselves digitally. The small antique store in Lebanon, Ohio, or the small pizza shop in Hamilton, or the cafe down in Loveland, they don't have neither the expertise nor the budget to do this. But they still have to compete.
Yeah, you still got to be findable.
Yeah. If you're a cafe, you're not going to outrank Starbucks in terms of prominence. But you've got to be there, right? So our focus was to serve the small business and be a guide and plug them into the right resources. So, be a guide to port them to in the right direction, or put them in, a plug-in can be called a port.
Get them plugged in. That's a good analogy. Just plugging people into, because I didn't know, what I learned at your seminar was, there are a lot of little things that go into being found. And Google's the number 1 search engine in the world, and it's not even close, right? I mean, do you know what the stats are on that? What's that?
So Google owns 86% of the marketplace.
Wow.
So I think Bing is 7%. I think Yahoo's around 5 or 6%, and then DuckDuckGo, which is kind of an up and comer, but they're less than 1%.
Interesting.
But yeah,
so you got to be, if you're a business, you got to be on Google.
That's where 86% of your people are coming looking for you.
So the first phone call, if I'm opening a pizza shop tomorrow, I got to call Rusty. Dude, come over. What do I need to do to be relevant here? Because there's a certain amount of marketing you can do out in the physical world that will have some impact, right?
Right.
But none as much as this magic little phone we carry around, right?
Well, absolutely. And that Google business profile, which is where we really focus our efforts, because that's going to be the most relevant thing you have in local search. That is your digital storefront. So if you're going to put a sign, if you're going to have a store, a cafe, a dental practice, or whatever, if you're going to put a sign out there and you're going to spend thousands of dollars to put that sign out there, why don't you spend a few $100s and put your digital storefront up there? Because I guarantee you more people are finding you digitally than they are driving past
100%.
your store.
100%. So what I've learned in my whole experience is that I think all of the above is really, in today's world, is how you need to operate. And everything. There's nothing that doesn't matter. That's why I'm writing. That's why I'm doing podcasting. That's what, I think the written word, I think the spoken word and video, you've got to do those things in your business too. But starting with Google, starting with a photo of the business
foundation,
and these 360s, like you invited me to a coffee shop, which was really interesting. I pulled it up. Google it first, of course. I go to Google Maps, and there it is. It took me inside the coffee shop. I could virtually walk in there and look around, and you know what I mean? So I had a sense of where I was going and what the environment was. Is that what are those called again?
Google Virtual Tours, or we call them Google Virtual Experiences now. But we have in our office, we've got a VR setup now. That is a virtual reality setup.
Very cool.
And so now you can actually take these you always could, but most people don't have access to this unless you own or have a Google Cardboard or something like that. But you can take a virtual reality experience. You can be dropped into an experience of that place, and they are breathtaking. It's a lot different than looking at it on your phone, which is still amazing, right? I mean, you can still click through. It's like pick your own adventure, which is why they're so engaging. So, for instance, video is what's called a passive medium. So you pull up the video, you click play, and you watch. You're passively ingesting the content that's coming at you.
Right.
One of the reasons why these first-person shooter games are so popular is because it's a pick your own adventure experience.
Got it.
So in these Google Virtual Tours, they get to make their own choices on where they want to go and what they want to see, and if they want to look up or look down or whatever. And it's an active medium, so they're emotionally engaged in the brand. And of course, Marketing 101 will tell you The more times somebody spends with your brand, the more likely they're going to buy from you. That's why, oh, what a relief it is, and just do it, and all these, just to think of any jingle or saying of these big prominent brands, just do it. Outside of the context of Nike, just do it, doesn't really say anything. But Nike spent millions of dollars, as their slogan, and now there's nobody who doesn't know what just do it means and who it's attributed to.
Yep. It all starts with understanding, first of all, understanding what your company believes. I believe that. I think they need to know what you believe. And then I think they can buy into a slogan like that. Mm-hmm. So talk to me about I pick up the phone, I call you, and I say, hey, I just started a new business. What is it you do for me? Take me down that road real quick.
Sure. So we wanted to, we try to be very authentic and very different than what you're usually going to get. So you call me up. Hey, I need on Google.
You're going to do a Google search on me first, right?
Yeah.
I'm guessing. I'm just
exactly.
Like almost like a doctor would, like a diagnosis. Like, okay, where are you now?
Yeah, exactly. So I was doing a presentation this morning before I came here, and after the presentation, several people would come up and go, "Hey, how do we look on Google?" So I pull it up on the phone, because most people are going to be looking at you on mobile anyway.
Yeah, agree with that.
And I would show them, okay, this is what's going on. This is my visual snapshot audit. I'm not going to go digging deep. I'm just it's what I call at a glance marketing. What do you look like at a glance? If someone runs past your Google business profile, is there enough there to make them stop and go, ooh, that's kind of cool. They're women led, they're veteran led, they're whatever. Okay, they're non-GMO, they're gluten free.
What's the thing? Yeah.
How many reviews do they have? It's that stuff that stops you in your tracks and captures your attention. That's what we do, is we help flesh all of that out, and then we coach and train them how to manage that profile, because it used to be in the old days, you set it and forget it. It was your NAPU, your name, address, phone number, and URL, and that was all you really needed. Mm-hmm. Now you can engage with text messaging from your clients right there on there. You can create advertisements on there or posts, events, put your business description in. One of the most important things are accumulating reviews, requesting reviews, responding to those reviews, and putting imagery and videos up there. So, the name of the game is engaging with clients.
Yeah, that's it. And what I didn't know is that there is a level of almost like the ability to make posts on there that make it even more relevant, right? Like you can add pictures, you can add your own, not blog post necessarily, or can you?
Yeah,
almost like a Facebook business page in a way, right?
Yeah,
but you can do it right within the infrastructure of Google.
Yeah, absolutely. And these things are becoming searchable as well.
Yeah.
So you may, let's say you're a you sell something. I sell tires. Okay, I can create an offer in an offer post of buy 3 get one free. That's what you always see, right?
Yeah.
Buy 3 get 1 free alignment, free valve stems, all this stuff. I can create that in a post as an offer, and that offer now becomes searchable in Google,
because it becomes more relevant.
Yes,
because it's like there's a certain urgency with it.
Yes, absolutely. So Google, Google at the end of the day is just trying to answer your question in the best way it knows, with the most relevant information. So if you're a business, the phrase you need to repeat as a mantra is fresh, relevant data. Fresh, relevant data.
Interesting.
And if you're not providing Google or your website, which is still going to feed Google, fresh, relevant data, you're just going to start to trail off.
Got it.
In terms of your popularity in search.
So you can't just set it up and ignore it.
No.
You got it has to be like and if this is the number one search engine, you got to be engaged, don't you?
Absolutely, and that goes for It's not just the search engine. That goes for your social media.
Yeah, everything.
Goes for your blog, goes for your imagery, everything. Imagery is huge. I mean, there are very few things that move the needle in search more than fresh, unique imagery.
Got it.
Quick tip, don't put stock imagery on your website or your Google business listing, okay? Bad news.
Is it that people, they're onto it?
Well,
is that what it is, or what?
Well, yeah.
Most people... It just has no connection.
There's no
the reality.
Connection. Yeah, it's like and we're all guilty. I got some on my website. I'm trying to replace it all.
Yeah, exactly.
But here's the challenge. I'll give you kind of pull back the curtain a little bit. Because we have a lot of communication with Google, and we do a lot of testing out of our office in terms of what's the algorithm looking at. Easy for you.
We don't have any whiskey in these jars. That's just water.
That's just water.
High quality H2O.
Now that's high quality H2O. Oh man!
As you were saying, algorithm.
Because Bing is the devil.
Behind the curtain.
Yeah, behind the curtain.
Okay.
But Google is putting a lot of emphasis on imagery, and so through Cloud Vision, you can take a photo of a person or whatever, upload it into its Cloud Vision API, and it will tell you what's in that photo without any other metadata on that photo at all. So if you've got a picture of a German Shepherd dog and you put it up into that Cloud Vision, it will tell you that's a German Shepherd dog with that's how
interesting.
And it can tell you the front of a business. It can tell you, it can actually read the words, some of the words. The OCR is still a little wonky, as most OCR stuff is, optical character recognition. But when you put stock photography up there, you become assimilated with other places that have that stock 100%. Photography.
Yeah.
Right?
Because it recognizes it across all kind of other places.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So you become white noise.
Yep.
And this was a lesson that I learned the hard way because I started off with virtual tours and Google My Business, right? That was what we did, and we were successful at it. We served clients, and we had great relationships with our clients. But every time after I would sit at a presentation or a meeting or a chamber event or something like that, invariably somebody would come up and go, "Hey, can you recommend somebody who does websites?" Sure. And I would be pushing this business away. And it got in my head. I was like, man, I need to offer websites. So I partnered with a company or two. And so then all of a sudden, when I'd stand up and I'd give my 30-second commercial, and we do this and that, and by the way, we do websites as well, not a single person ever came up to me again asking me about websites. Not a single person.
Interesting.
Ever. And I came to realize that by offering that, I became white noise. I became just like, I took away what made me unique.
100%.
Because nobody's doing virtual tours. I mean, you might run across an agency if they walk in your door or something like that, but no one broadcasts that they're doing virtual tours the way we do. So I was very unique. When I'm doing websites, now all of a sudden, I'm like every other digital companies in the world that do that.
Ubiquitous.
Yep.
I'm reading a book right now. I just finished it actually yesterday. 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. He says, dude, you need to be a monopoly. But how do you become a monopoly? You create your own category. And so you got to become a category of one. I'm a left-handed golf club, pink, you know what I mean? In Arizona only company, right?
Yeah, you're a purple squirrel.
Exactly.
Yep.
So the whole point is like become something unique, go in all in on that and dominate and be a monopoly in that thing.
Yes.
And that's I think what you're saying is that's how you avoid white noise.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You couldn't have said anything better.
So you got a couple of notes over there. I want to make sure we hit those notes before we leave. What do you got written down there? What do you got for us?
Oh no!
What secrets do you have for the audience?
No, I was just there were a couple of
we didn't get into martial arts. I want to go there too.
We will. Yeah, we will. In fact, that was the last thing I had on there. But first, we need to do a quick checkup. Are the record buttons still pushed?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, just
That was evil.
check. I know, right?
Wait a minute. I know for a fact that Google's mantra is "Don't be evil" or something to that effect. That
Don't
was
be
evil.
That was. Well, we came back from the break,
Okay. Yes. The record button is
Record
pushed.
button is
Yes.
pushed. For those of you joining us late,
So listen. When we talked the last time, and this is our second time around doing this. I found out you were a martial artist, and not only that, a product of the 1980s, which really made me geek out on you. Like, we have so many common things. I'm a real redneck. You kind of a redneck from West Virginia.
we invented rednecks in West Virginia.
So tell me about martial arts. Like, how'd you get into it, and what's that all about? But that is a fascinating discovery.
Sure. Well, I'll share you mine if you share me yours.
I will. And it's funny was you were you gave us your dimensions a little bit earlier. So
Yeah.
What I found is that there's quite a few guys that are smaller in the martial arts for this very reason, right?
Yes.
So share your story. I'd love to hear how you got involved in and what is it and all that.
Sure. Well, and I should preface it by saying that the style of martial arts that I practice is designed for smaller people.
Ah, interesting.
So there are some martial arts that are designed for smaller people, some for larger, some that aren't as discriminating. But mine specifically, it's called Shorin-ryu, or more specifically, Matsubashi-ryu. It's from Okinawa.
So it's Japanese.
Japanese, yep. And, it was designed for the Okinawans to fight against, actually when Japan was invading and stuff like that. So they were having to fight against samurai and punch through, through this bamboo armor and stuff like that. So there's a lot of body hardening techniques and things. So it's a stand-up striking style. We don't have a whole lot of kicks, maybe just 2 or 3 kicks in the style itself. So it's
who introduced you to it? Like, how did you get interested?
I went looking for it myself.
You did? Interesting.
Yeah. So I was 40-something years old.
Us old people do that a lot. I find myself doing that more and more, but go ahead.
Yeah. Now, I grew up reading Black Belt magazine.
Oh my gosh.
Chuck Norris is my idol, right? So I grew up, and if you were in the 70s or 80s, that was
Bruce
martial
Lee,
arts' heyday, right?
Chuck Norris, all of it.
Yeah, that's back when senseis could just beat and pound on you even if you were a kid.
Yeah,
Today, you can't do that.
It was illegal.
Yeah, exactly.
Go in and get beat up.
Yeah, that's how you snap an arm right there, kid.
That's it.
Rub some dirt on it. Get back in there.
Exactly.
But I went, I was in my 40s, and I wanted to, it was kind of on my bucket list. I want to learn a martial art, right? So I was kind of attracted to the Chinese martial arts, like Wing Chun, Kung Fu, Shaolin, and stuff like that. But nothing was really close to us. There were a couple places, but not really close to where I lived. And Sensei Mark Worley up in Lebanon, Ohio, started Lebanon Martial Arts. And so I just kind of wandered into that place like 2 weeks after he opened.
Interesting.
Said, hey, just curious, what's the cost and the whole thing. So I joined that martial arts dojo, and 6 years later, I was now 2nd degree black belt, and
good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So
people don't understand how rare it is to be a black belt. Like, as a percentage, it's very, very few people. Just like in any other thing in life, like most people don't get to that level.
Right.
So I got into martial arts when my kid was, I don't know, he was 5 or 6 years old. My boy Scott, on the cover of my book, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, that's Scott. And Scott was he was his hero was who are the turtles? The Ninja Turtles. Oh, he was a big Ninja Turtles.
Oh, love Ninja Turtles.
Dude, I would get home from work and he would hit me with stuff doing his martial arts, right? So when he got to be about 5 or 6 years old, we thought we'd put him in. So we put him in a martial arts school up in Goshen, Ohio. And so I had to go there anyway to watch him. And I'd always wanted to do martial arts anyway myself as a kid. And I took some martial arts when I was a kid, but very, very young. I didn't stick with it. And so I'm going to class anyway, so I thought, well, I might as well do it as well. So I got into it, and I was way more into it than he was. So ultimately, I earned a black belt as well. And ours was more Korean, Hapkido and Taekwondo. But we also did kickboxing. We did. We had quite a few classes around the idea of what's the throwing martial art? Judo. So we did. It was a true, well-rounded martial arts studio, and they were kind of old school, man. They, you get beat on pretty good there. But
we did too as adults.
Yeah, exactly.
in 11 martial arts.
I think it should be that way. I mean, because like if you're going to train in anything, I think you got to do the difficult stuff, right? And that's why it's so good. Martial arts prepares you to persevere, to get through it, right?
Yeah, it absolutely does. It's in fact, I don't know of anything that will. Sports obviously, but martial arts will teach you what you're really capable of. We have in our dojo, we have 2 words you're not allowed to say in there. Okay, one or 2 phrases. One is, "I can't," so you're not allowed to say that.
Kids weren't allowed to say that growing up.
Or "I'm tired." Those 2 will get you push-ups in a hurry. Okay. And it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter whether you're an adult or a kid. I mean, we got 8-year-olds in there that know better. They're like, nope.
Such good lessons.
Not gonna say it. And we try to trick them too, because So one of the biggest lessons I learned in my dojo, I was training for my second brown, what's called second Q. Okay, and my technique and power and stuff like that, I never really had too much problem with technique. I say that very arrogantly. Relatively speaking, to my conditioning, my technique was better. Yeah. So, but from a conditioning standpoint, I'm in my late 40s. So I'm like, I'm not out there running miles and stuff like that, which that's no excuse. But, I just wasn't. So I go into this test, and I have to spar another brown belt. He was one or 2 ranks below me, but he was a big old boy. Okay, this dude was well up over 200 pounds, right? And very quick and very nimble for the size that he was. And I had to go 3-minute rounds with this guy, right? And I thought I was going to die. I mean, this kid, here I am, I'm a rank and a half or 2 ranks away from black belt, and this dude is owning me because as big as he is, he trains a lot in conditioning. Okay. So
that's such an important one, right?
Oh my gosh. So I'm exhausted, and the board, both my senseis are standing up or sitting on the board there, and they're watching me. And I stand up there, we're done with this, and I'm just, it's hard for me to even breathe, right? My sensei gets this warm look on his face, just draw me in as his buddy, and just kind of gives me that father look, and he goes, "Are you tired?"
You gotta admit it.
And without even thinking, I went, "Yeah."
You're toast.
Oh my God.
Give me 20.
Down, give me push-ups. Crap. So I'm down, and I actually pushed out 10 push-ups. And there was no way I thought, but bottom line is you never know what you're capable of until you do it. I started a goal a few months ago. I wanted to do 100 push-ups in a row, right? I'm now up to 60, so I can do 60 push-ups in a row.
Good for you. We're gonna have a push-up off. We'll do that.
I think you got a little bit of an advantage on me.
We'll do that because like that's one of my goals too.
Oh, is it really?
So,
yeah, absolutely.
So let's land this plane. All right.
Okay.
So how can my audience help you? How can they get a hold of you? How can we do business with Guideport Solutions?
So getting in contact with me is very easy. You can Google Guideport Solutions LLC. I'm in Lebanon, Ohio. Even if you do a search for Google Virtual Tours Cincinnati, I'll come up in that list. I'm on LinkedIn. Facebook.
Rusty Allison on LinkedIn.
Yeah, Rusty Allison on LinkedIn, Guideport Solutions, or Rusty Allison on Facebook, although you probably want to go to Guideport Solutions.
You have a business page there?
Yeah, I got a business page there. But finding me on my Google business profile is the most effective way to do that. You can call me or email me. Are you going to put show notes?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll include phone number and email in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll put them in there. Yep.
Okay, cool. So that's the best way to getting in touch with me. If you have a brick and mortar business, the best thing to do is to Google yourself. Google your business.
Yep.
And ask yourself, would I buy from me if I saw that? Or, because reputation management is a big thing.
Yeah, 100%.
And so if I say, hey, let's say you and I know each other from 10 years, and I say, hey, Ron, you got to go to this restaurant or this little coffee joint, and it's amazing, it's fantastic, you're going to love it. The first thing, you're not going to drive there. Nobody just drives because of somebody's recommendation, even if they've known them for years. First thing they're going to do is they're going to pull out their phone and they're going to Google it. And if you go to that location and it says 35 reviews, 1.8 stars, it doesn't really matter what my recommendation is.
Exactly.
You're not going.
Exactly.
So
I think what my view of you and what you do, your foundation, your step one. So guys, if you got a business, you're starting a business, or you know somebody who has a business, this is the first phone call. Mm-hmm. Give Rusty a call. Look him up on Google, whatever. He'll be there to give you a hand. All right. You got a phone number? Do you want to leave that? 513-404-0460. He's holding it up for me. All right. You've been a great guest, man. For the second time.
Much. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, brother. All right.
Second verse, same as the first.
Have a great day.
Thanks.
See you, brother.
Bye.
That was awesome. Good job.
Very nice. Now you check.
Yeah. Well, no, I checked at halftime too. So everything was still good. Yeah, good job, Bub.
Oh, that was great.
All right, so now the reason that I really wanted to get you back here was because I want to send to you exactly what you're going to be able to, like, when you're out